I hope that you are having an amazing Saturday or whatever day that this happens to find you. By the way, I'm really hoping that my some form of audio is picking up. I've got my Bluetooth earbuds in, so I'm hoping that that's working, or at least that you're able to hear me, at least from this distance, because that would be crappy if not. Anyway, I wanted to come on here today and talk a little bit about change and growth. Um, I gotta ask, like, have you ever been in a place in your life that you just feel like a stranger to yourself? Where you wake up, you feel lost, uh, you don't necessarily know who you are anymore, you don't know what it is that you want. Um, you know, it's like you're in the dark, like you don't know what you need, or what you need to do. Um, I don't know. I'm sure that this is a, a common human experience to feel that way. I certainly have been there a few times, quite a few times in my life. And I guess I wanted to talk about this topic because someone I know recently reached out to me and stated that they really felt that way, that they felt like they were just in this dark room, and didn't know what direction to head, don't know exactly what to do, um, you know, what changes that they needed to make in order to be able to grow or head in this direction that they have in mind. And I've really been thinking about it for a few days. And I guess I just thought that maybe having this conversation with you guys could possibly, um, I don't know, help talk about it. I think that when we share our experiences, that it can help others to give ideas or motivation. And perhaps if I can do that, um, then that would make me feel a little bit better, that I helped somebody out. Um, I, I'll say this much. I do, I guess, have some caveats, right? I'm not a therapist. I am not a doctor. The things that I may recommend in this conversation, these are things that work for me, have worked for me. I understand that everybody is individual and unique, and has their own experiences, and what may work for me may not work for you. I think it's always important to find what works for you. Um, but I can only speak to my own experiences. So I guess rewinding a little bit, a year and a half ago, I guess, I was in a really dark place in my life. I um, realized that I was somebody that I was a stranger to myself. I felt completely lost. Um, I didn't know exactly what I wanted in life. I had a vague idea, some basic uh, thoughts that came to mind. Like I knew that I wanted to be happy. I knew that I wanted to be healthy. Um, I knew that I wanted to be financially stable, um, and while these are all vague concepts, it was, really a good place to start, because sometimes when we're feeling completely just disassociated with ourselves, it's very hard to come up with those, like, concrete concepts of, like, this is exactly, the person that I wanna become or whatever. So, anyways, I was none of those things. I was not happy. I was not in a financially good spot. I certainly was not in a mental, emotional, or physical healthy spot in my life. And I knew that I could not continue to live my life like that. I knew that I needed a change, um, and I needed a radical change at that. Um, Oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump my stuff. So, at least for me, I know that a lot of times when I've had these aha moments of radical change that where I needed a glow up in my life is because I have been in a place where it's rock bottom, right? Like you are rock bottom, you're backed up against the wall, you're beating your head against that brick wall too, and it comes to the point where you just realize that you're not the same person that you used to be, you know. And it's funny, I think that we don't give ourselves enough empathy, or I don't know. It's like weird, right? Like a snake goes through life and it never, I doubt, thinks about having to shed its skin and to become a new version of itself. It just does it. It just goes, right? And I think that much like nature, we have seasons in our lives where, like, we're, in winter and we need to uh, be comforted and slow down and really kind of take care of ourselves. And or there's falls where we have to let go and we have to grieve and um, really look inward. There's springs where it's like bursts of creativity and action and movement, and summers that's just radiant and sunshine and happiness and joy and relaxations. And I think recognizing what what season that we're in and what we need, which will lead to my next point, um, is really important. I think that we don't ask ourselves often enough, what is it that I need? We live in such this chaotic, busy world where we get in this like comfort space of doing things over and over and over. And while our former self, I'm stumbling on my words because I am just verbal vomiting. I did not prepare, nor do I don't like to prepare. I like to have genuine conversation, like you're sitting here, just having a conversation, sitting on the porch, drinking some coffee, smoking some cigs. Let's, have a conversation. But anyway, I don't think our former selves really think about like what it is, or ask ourselves enough what it is that we need, because it's like we know, right? Like, oh, I know I need to go to work. I know that when I come home, like a hot shower just makes me feel better. I know that a glass of wine is great, or maybe it's a walk in the morning, or whatever that it may be, right? And then we get in that repetition of like, this is what we do, this is who I am. And then one day we can wake up and be like, this is not who I am. This walk in the morning is not bringing me as much joy, or maybe this glass of wine in the evenings is not um, healthy for me, or whatever it may be. And I don't think that we ask ourselves enough, like, what is it that we need? What do you need? Like, do you need, for instance, I went through a long period where I really didn't listen to any music, which is kind of odd, but it just, every time I got in the car, the radio was never on. Um, I never really listened to music on my, phone. I was about to say iPhone. Oh, fuck, what were those things? Anyway, doesn't matter. The point is I didn't listen to any music, right? And it was probably like a couple months ago. I was driving to work and I put my earbuds in and I was like, just put my playlist on shuffle. I just want to like start jamming out. And to be completely honest, it brought me such joy. Like, just the nostalgia of some of the songs that were coming on, and I'm, like, belting out the words and, like, dancing in the car and jamming out, and it just brought me, like, this moment of happiness that I had forgot, like, how healing, listening to music can be, and I was like, "Wow, I've, like, really been missing out on this," you know what I mean? So, of course, right now, in the current season that I am, I've been doing that a lot more often, you know? Anyways, so getting back to the the feeling lost, right? I invite you to, like, really sit down and ask yourself, like, "What is it that I need? What do I need right now in my life that is going to allow the change and growth to happen?" Um, and while there's obviously, like, billions of options and tools and resources and things out there for you, I really like to break everything down as simple as possible, right? So when I was knowing that I needed to change, and I knew that obviously I wanted the things that I wanted. I wanted happiness, and I wanted healthiness, and I wanted stability. Those were the three mantras, so to speak, that were just fundamental to what I needed in this new season of Brian. Um, and obviously, much like other people, I didn't know how to get there, you know? Like, I didn't know exactly what I needed to do. I didn't know what changes I needed to make or what tools or resources. And so I break it down. I break it down to the fundamentals, right? Like mind, body, spirit, essentially. Like, what can I physically do for my body? Like, what does my body need? Um, is it exercise? Is it dieting? Um, is it self-care? Um, like what do I need to do? And with all of these things as well, when you are breaking it down to like the fundamental things, right? Also be thinking about what is within my control. I understand that we are all in different places and different situations in our lives. Um, and there are a lot of things that really can restrict people, whether it's your financial situation, it's your housing, it's maybe even like where it is that you live, social economical. There's all kinds of things, right? That can be challenges clearly to you um, overcoming obstacles. Um, but we want to also think about like what it is that we can do that is within our control with all of these things. So what do I need physically, right? And then what do I need mentally? Like, does my mind need to be stimulated? Is there knowledge that I need to educate myself on, let's say, health for my body? Um one thing that I found, right, and this I think ties into emotional as well is another thing to think about, right? So, not getting too far off the beaten path, but physical, mental, emotional, like basic fundamental things. What is it that I can do? And what is it that I need for these things in order for the change to happen? And what is it, what change will bring that growth that I want to my ultimate goals, right? And obviously, those things can all intertwine with one another. Um, and then, like, what is the most important right now? You know, for me, it happened to be my emotional health. I was dealing with a lot. I was grieving losses of relationships. I was grieving the loss of myself. Um, Grieving the loss of a life that I thought that I wanted, um, and just my whole world changed, right? And while the mental and physical are still important, for me, it was the emotional was the number one thing that I really had to focus on. Um, and so for me, one thing I knew that I had to do was I had to get back on medication. Um, I diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and probably undiagnosed for a lot of other things. But for sure, I knew for me, I had to get back on medication. Like I can't continue this brain crap, um, without that help, you know? And I knew that I needed help. And also, throughout all of this, like, ask for help. Ask for help. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many, not only are there so many tools and resources out there, I mean, at least one positive thing about technology is we have so much information like at our fingertips. However, that's also a curse because it's like we're living in a pandemic of like feeling lonely and disconnected and but the thing is like there are people around that will help. There are, people in your life or resources available to you um that can be able to help. um God, mm, excuse me. So anyways, for my emotional health, I knew that I needed help. I knew that I needed to get on medication. And I knew that I needed to start educating myself on um, emotional health and what it is that I could be doing in order to make that change. And I really had to reflect on what it was, my behaviors and patterns and things that I was doing that were detrimental to my emotional health. Um, Things like boundary setting, uh, which was something that I rarely ever did in life, and had trouble doing. Um, I'm better at it now. It's something that I'm still continuing to work on. But I knew that that was something that I had to educate myself on. One thing that I started doing as well that I found to be extremely helpful is I've been a huge fan of podcasts now. And for years, friends have been like, "Podcast, podcast, podcast," and I'm like, don't really know." Um, One podcast that I could not recommend more, it's called The Good Life Project. The Good Life Project, is hosted by a gentleman, and he has on these hosts that are hosts. He has on guests uh, that are therapists or um, public speakers, authors, doctors, etc. And they're all wildly different topics, but it's all under the vein of what it means to live a good life. And it's a little bit like self-help, you know what I mean? Well, it's a lot of it self-help, but I try to listen to it as often as I can, um, because it empowers me and gives me knowledge, and I love learning. I think, you know, that learning is a huge part of change and growth, because I think that, when we're kind of like stuck in our ways, right? We're not learning new things or new ways in order to understand what it is that we need, you know? Um, so yeah. Anyway, long pause here because I'm thinking about like what I don't want to like ramble on too much longer. I see I've already been like talking for 20 minutes and this video does not need to be any longer. It's already too long, especially for not preparing any sort of speech. The point is I think that when you find yourself in a spot where you feel lost and you know that you need and want to make some changes in your life, and you may feel stuck because you don't know what to do or where to begin. I think that defining, even in the simplest terms, of what it is that you want. What is the person? What do you want? What do you need? What is that person that you want to become? Who is that person? And what is that basic, just like I did. I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want to be stable, right? Fundamental, like this is the ultimate goal, right? And then really break it down. What do I need physically? What do I need mentally? What do I need emotionally? Um, and write this down, like sit down with yourself, like really contemplate and reflect and invite the fact that, instead of change being something that's scary, it's actually rather invigorating and exciting that new things are going to be coming into your life, and write this down. Like what is it that I need physically? What do I need mentally? What do I need to change? Whatever, what and then what is within my control? What can I do? What can I do differently? How can I approach this differently? And then what's the priority, right? And then start making those changes. Give yourself grace. Understand that in this instant fucking gratification world of where we get everything like that change does not happen like that, right? Like, if I want to go to the gym, like, just even going 1 day a week, that's doing something, but like, you have to do it. Like, there's this quote that's like, the weights don't the weights don't get lighter, you get stronger. But if you never go to the gym, you'll never get stronger, right? Like, you have to start somewhere. That doesn't mean that when you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna start reading books again," like I recently did. It's been years since I've read a book, but I wanted to start reading again. I felt like that was important. I needed to exercise like my mental health and my brain and expand my knowledge. And am I reading like 100 pages a night? No, I'm not. I'm not even doing it on a daily basis. But like, I'll pick up the book and I'll read like 10 or 15 pages. And then I'm like, okay, look, I can't, it's not comfortable, right? Can't do it anymore. But I'm coming back and I'm picking it up and I'm doing it again. And it'll get to the point where eventually that's like, I love reading again, right? You got to start somewhere and give yourself that grace and have realistic expectations that, like, you're not going to be like jumping into something, or maybe you are, and good for you. if you're able to jump into something and be like, absolutely not, I'm going to quit smoking and just stop and never think about it again, then like I applaud you. Good for you for being able to like make that change. But then once you've like gotten to that place where it's like, okay, I did this and or I'm doing this and this is habit. This is not like something that I need to like really focus on anymore, like consciously focus on, then what's something else on the list now that I can like add to this, right? So let me move on. Let me add something else, right? Because now I've gotten to the place where like I'm really not negative self-talk anymore. Like it's amazing thing, right? Like I'm motivating myself and I'm speaking to myself kindly and being like, you did it. You showed up today. You gave your all. Even if you were at 40% today, you gave 40% today, which is 100%. You showed up, you did it. Good for you, right? And like that negative self-talk is not there anymore. So now I like want to move on to my diet, right? And I'm like, okay, so I've got the negative self-talk out. I'm motivating myself. You can do this, Brian, right? Like, so now I'm working on the diet and I'm starting to focus on my health and looking to eat cleaner and watching like how many calories I'm eating and, not because I knew I needed to make the change and don't eat fast food and greasy, deep fried, carb loaded, blah, blah, all this stuff that I knew is making me feel bad. And I knew that I needed to make that change, right? So now I can focus on that. And once you get through that and you're like, you know what? Now this is like a regular thing. It's not a problem anymore. Like now like, most fast food, like, it just disgusts me to kind of think about that because I've been eating clean. So now what else is on my list, you know? And eventually you're finding yourself where you're literally creating yourself. You're creating this whole new life and you're creating this whole new person. And then you're starting to see like, hey, I'm accomplishing these goals, I'm accomplishing these tasks, and I'm becoming that person. And understand, right? That your social circles are not the same as like or can be different as your help circles, right? Who are your help circles? Who are the people that you can reach to and talk to, right? And like I just personally find, I mean, this is a thing for me, right? I find it very hard to connect with people that don't appreciate or understand growth and change, right? The sad thing is with growth and change, a lot of times you realize, like, you kind of outgrow some people. There are some people in your lives that you're just like, "I kinda don't connect with you anymore," or, "We don't have the same interests anymore," and that's okay. Um, and we can grieve that, you know? I think that that's a normal thing to do, but, like, look to the people in your life that, or who emulate the things that you wanna be and talk to them about that. Ask them, like, "How did you get to where you are financially or in your career or as a parent or, um, how are you so calm or how are you so well-spoken?" Or you know what I mean? Like, you can always ask people. These are, like, your help circles, right? Like, these are the people that, like, you can talk to about growth and change and maybe what it is that you want and what they do and give you ideas for that. I don't know. I'm going to end the video here because we're now almost at 30 minutes and I don't want to ramble on too much longer. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that if you find yourself in a dark place where you know that you need change, I hope that some of these things that I've said maybe help you or give you some ideas about where to start. If you have ever felt like that you're just lost and you feel like, have you ever been a stranger to yourself? I want to know what is it that you did, what did you find helpful for you? Comment that down below. I want everybody to kind of share their own experiences because I think that if the community like can read through these and maybe get different ideas. Because, like I said, the things that have helped me change, that doesn't mean that's going to help you. You had to find your own stuff. I can only speak to my own life. But comment down below, what was it that helped you? Was it podcasts? Was it reading? Was it going in walks in the woods? Was it having a crazy weekend at a festival and having a sense of community and connecting? I don't know. We can all have different experiences that help us just appreciate life. Anyways, I love you. Have a great day. Bye. Exit.